Hi everyone, welcome back to Deep Dive Daily. Okay, so today we are talking about the hidden levels of intelligence, the ones that are quietly running your life, whether you know it or not.
Have you ever felt this? Like, you're smart. You know you are. You topped exams in school, you can think fast on your feet, but in real life you feel kind of stuck. Or you're working so hard at your job, putting in all the hours, but the results just aren't matching the effort. It's so frustrating, right? And you're left wondering, what am I missing here?
Well, here's the thing. The problem probably isn't you, and it's not your effort. The real problem is that we've all been sold a very limited definition of what smart actually is. We're taught from day one that intelligence is all about IQ. You know, having a great memory, being good at logic puzzles, but that's just the base layer, and focusing only on that is like trying to build a skyscraper with only a basement. It's actually holding us back.
Let's actually dive into our first case file to see what I mean. We're going to look at how this narrow view of intelligence, this IQ trap, can lead to massive failure, even when the odds feel impossible.
Okay, picture this. It's World War II. Nazi Germany is absolutely dominating Europe. And a huge reason for their success is a secret weapon for communication, the Enigma machine. This thing let them coordinate all their attacks in total secrecy.
So just how secure was it? The Enigma machine could spit out 160 quintillion possible code combinations every single day. That's a number my brain can't even process. It was considered mathematically impossible to crack, a perfect code.
So, what did the Allies do? They did the obvious thing. They assembled a dream team of 10,000 of the UK's smartest people, mathematicians, code breakers, you name it. They threw all their raw IQ at the problem, trying to brute force the math. But it was like trying to empty the entire ocean with a teaspoon. They got absolutely nowhere. But then, a totally different kind of thinker walked into the room, a guy we now know as the father of AI, Alan Turing. And this is where the game completely changed. See, while everyone else was asking, how do we break the machine, Turing asked a much better question. Who is using the machine? And the answer was people. And what do we know about people? We're predictable. We fall into routines.
Turing noticed these little human quirks, like the German operators sent a weather report at 6 a.m. every day. They had lazy habits, and he found a tiny flaw in the machine itself. A letter could never be encrypted as itself, so an A could never turn into an A. By using these simple human and logical rules, he built a machine that didn't have to check all 16 quintillion options. It just had to instantly eliminate the ones that were impossible, cutting the problem down to size.
What Turing did here is a perfect example of the second level of intelligence, creative intelligence. And no, this isn't about being good at painting. It's about the ability to redefine the entire problem. He saw it wasn't a math problem, it was a psychology problem. And that single shift in perspective shortened the war by an estimated 2 years and saved millions of lives.
It really makes you think about that famous Einstein quote. You know, our whole school system is built to reward us for knowing the right answers. But real life, the real world rewards you for asking the right questions. Because you can have the most brilliant answer in the world, but if it's to the wrong question, you're just spinning your wheels.
And get this, research actually backs this up. Once your IQ gets past a certain point, let's say 120, having an even higher IQ only predicts about 5 to 15% of your success. But creative intelligence, that accounts for a whopping 25 to 35%. Among smart people, the real differentiator isn't who has more brain power, it's who has the better perspective.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. Creative intelligence on its own is not enough. It can make you a brilliant dreamer with a ton of amazing ideas, but a totally empty bank account. There's another level we have to unlock.
Let's jump into our second case file. Back in the 1970s, the company Xerox started a research center called PARC. It was basically a paradise for the world's most creative engineers. They had unlimited money, unlimited time, and zero deadlines. And what came out of this place? Oh, you know, they just invented pretty much the entire modern digital world. The graphical user interface, the windows and icons you're looking at right now, the computer mouse, the Ethernet, laser printing, the whole shebang. They literally created the blueprint for the 21st century. So here's the billion-dollar question, or in this case, trillion-dollar question. If Xerox invented all of this stuff, why are they basically irrelevant today while Apple and Microsoft built empires on their ideas? What went wrong? Well, they were missing the next critical level of intelligence.
You see, Xerox was a factory for brilliant ideas, but they had no clue how to turn those ideas into actual products that people would buy. But then one day, a young guy named Steve Jobs took a tour of their lab, and he immediately saw what they couldn't.
Jobs saw a gold mine that Xerox executives were just sitting on. He took their ideas, and Bill Gates famously did the same. This quote from Gates to Jobs just says it all. They both saw the treasure, and they weren't going to let it go to waste.
And that brings us to the most important point of this whole story. The idea, that's just 1% of the journey. The other 99% is execution. And that ability to execute brings us to the third and maybe the most powerful level of intelligence.
And that level is executive intelligence. This is the get-it-done intelligence. It's the ability to take a big, creative vision and actually drag it, kicking and screaming, into the real world by applying real-world limits like time, money, and focus.
Executive intelligence is all about being an idea killer. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple, the company was failing, and they were making over 20 different products. He came in and ruthlessly killed almost all of them, famously saying, "We will only make 4. And that intense focus is what saved the company. It's about saying no, pushing through the boring stuff, and choosing the long-term win over the short-term pleasure.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. It is literally hardwired into your brain. Your prefrontal cortex is basically your brain's CEO. It's the part that plans, that gives you willpower, that weighs the long-term value of your choices, and that keeps your emotions in check so you can make good decisions.
But even with IQ, creative intelligence, and executive intelligence, the story is still not over. And there's a final, really tragic paradox from Steve Jobs' own life that shows us there are even higher levels at play.
Just think about it for a second. This was a man who was an absolute genius at redefining problems and executing impossibly complex visions. And yet, when he was diagnosed with cancer, he initially ignored proven medical science and tried to treat it with things like fruit diets and acupuncture. It was a decision that very likely cost him his life. So how could someone so brilliant make such a devastating error? Well, this tragic mistake shows that even those 3 powerful forms of intelligence are totally incomplete without 2 final higher layers that control absolutely everything. And that is exactly what we're going to break down next time. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this, share it around, and subscribe for more. Drop a comment below with your views. See you tomorrow at the same time.